What's up, YouTube? Welcome to part 3 of my story of why I left Jehovah's Witnesses. Last time we left off, I had just been convinced to return to Jehovah. So we'll start off there. So I joined a new congregation. Meetings were still on Zoom, and for weeks I kept my camera off. I was slipping in and out like a shadow. I made occasional comments, joined a few field service groups, just enough to keep the brothers off my back. But then came the circuit overseer visit, and suddenly I was on their radar again. The brothers reached out to me asking to speak with me. On a Zoom call, they hit me with the same questions that the other brothers had hit me up with from my old congregation. They asked me like, where have I been? What have I been up to? How's my entertainment? Things like that. And I repeated the same explanation to them that I had to the other elders. I just needed a break because I was exhausted. But then strangely, their questions became more specific. They asked me, are you engaging in morally clean entertainment? Have you been playing violent video games? I was confused at this. I thought to myself, where are they getting this from? Then one of the brothers said, your mother told us you moved out so you could play violent and immoral video games. I was floored by this. I didn't even, it's funny because I didn't even own any game like that when I lived with her. So why would she say that? So when I finished this call with these elders, I immediately called my mom and asked her why she said what she said. She denied it. She twisted the story. She claimed that they misunderstood or she misunderstood. And that's when I realized my mom, if she didn't get her way, she would manipulate however way she could. And that hurt. Still, I wanted to prove her wrong. So when the brothers asked if I wanted to serve as a minister or servant again, I agreed. Maybe if I worked hard enough, I could redeem myself in their eyes and my mom's eyes. And so I started serving again, and it felt like jumping right back into a storm. I immediately I was given multiple responsibilities. And in most congregations, a minister or servant will hold like one main responsibility, and that's about it. But in this congregation, I had my responsibility were the accountant. I was the accountant servant, counting money. The cleaning servant, so I was responsible with making sure that the daily cleaning or the weekly cleaning of the Kingdom Hall got done. And also I was given the responsibility to being the assistant to the literature servant. So, I had to back him up, making sure that, all bookkeeping was straight. So I remember talking to the coordinator, telling him that, I think this is a little bit too much for me. But, hey, he encouraged me, said that Jehovah would bless my effort and that they were there to help. They wouldn't let me drown in these responsibilities. So, hey, me wanting to be a good boy, wanting to make a good impression on them, I caved in. I agreed. But that help never came. Week after week, I remember it was so hard, just getting the brothers to do their assignment for some reason. Like, I remember it would just be one or two people helping to clean, and then, I'd have to jump in just so that those people wouldn't be overwhelmed with the cleaning. And so that made it tough. But hey, I thought to myself, hey, I guess Jehovah will see the sacrifice that I'm making. Hey, but I was exhausted. I was exhausted again with everything that was going on. Now, the third crack in my faith came with I had started dating. I was I was longing for some companionship. I wanted to find a wife. As a witness, when you start dating, it's for marriage. you know, you get interested in somebody, you better make sure that they're the right person to get married to. So I started dating this sister. We got close, too close. We didn't have sex, but we did a lot of touching, you know, a lot of kissing and all that stuff. So the guilt, you know, the guilt ate at us, you know, being good little Jehovah's Witnesses. We ended up turning ourselves in, wanted to get straight with quote unquote Jehovah. Big mistake. A judicial meeting was arranged. 3 elders. She was in a different congregation, so 3 elders from her congregation and 3 from mine met with us. So it was 6 men sitting across from me, demanding every detail. You know, they asked me questions like, how many times did you do it? Was there penetration? Did you orgasm? Did you enjoy it? What was she wearing? I was floored by this, you know. It was kind of humiliating because I had told them already that prior to this judicial meeting, 2 elders had met with me when I turned myself in, and I had told them these questions before that we didn't have sex, so there were none of that. So, you know, I was kind of confused why they kept coming at me with these questions like that. Anyways, you know, they kept pushing. They were super suspicious. One elder went in so hard that the others, you know, one elder was so aggressive towards me that the others had to rein him in, you know. And so after nearly 3 hours of this back and forth, this interrogation pretty much, they gave me my verdict. My verdict, my punishment was that I would be reproved, public reproof. And what that means is that I would lose I would lose all my privileges, so all the assignments, I wouldn't be a minister servant anymore. None of that. I'll just be a regular member at the Kingdom Hall. That it didn't seem pretty bad to me, but the worst part was I was marked as bad association. The sister, man, she got a harsher punishment than me. She got this fellowship, so she would get completely shunned. She would be, now they say now they call it removed, so, you know, she'd be completely shunned from the congregation. And I remember when I asked why her punishment was so much harsher than mine, you know, the brothers told me to trust in the decision of the elders. And so, hey, I didn't question any more than that, but I was still, you know, a little curious of what's going on here. Well, you know. Anyways, but hey, and just like that though, the congregation, the people I called friends, you know, they started to avoid me immediately. As soon as the announcement happened, you know, it's like I had the plague or something. You know, when my name was announced on the platform, you know, it wasn't just it was a warning. It was a silent order, you know, to stay away from him. He's bad association. He's no good for you. And hey, it is what it is. But I was determined. I was determined to get back in the graces. I attended every meeting. I commented whenever I could. I went out in the ministry. Anything to prove I was still worthy. And so I did that for a while. But it just never felt the same again. Now, the 4th crack in my faith, you know, the foundation of my faith came at the death of my sister. I remember she had studied with the witnesses, but she never got baptized. And when she passed away, my mother asked an elder if he could give the funeral talk. They refused. Instead, they told her that I could do it. You know, apparently Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't like to intermingle. They don't like to intermingle faith. So a brother, an elder or something like that giving a talk is not recommended. It is they're against doing that for anybody that's not their family member. And so they said that I had to do it, that I could do it. I didn't want to. I was grieving. I was numb. But hey, they wouldn't budge. So when the funeral time came, I did what I had to do. I stood there in front of everybody, and I buried my pain, what I was going through, under a mask of being strong, and I delivered the talk. The sad part was that just like with my grandfather, only a few witnesses showed up. About five or six of them showed up. That really broke my heart again. I thought maybe because she had studied, they might decide to show up. At least the ones that called themselves our friends. But nope. 5 of them did. Hey, I love those 5 that did, that showed their love to us. But it really showed that the organization, when you need them the most, they're not going to be there for you if they're not fully with them. And so I started to wonder if this was really the truth. I was exhausted. The loss, I couldn't take it anymore. The loss of my grandfather, my sister, the privileges that I had, my friends that were, trying to keep some space away from me. I couldn't take it anymore. So I stopped going to the meetings for a few weeks. But the guilt, the guilt never left me. Then one day, I was just, I hadn't been to the meeting for a few weeks, so one day I decided to do something that, I never thought I'd do. I decided to search for Jehovah's Witnesses on YouTube. I hesitated before clicking on a video, but I did. I remember the first video I clicked on was a video from XJW Critical Thinker. Cool couple, man. I love their videos. I remember before I even clicked the video, my heart was pounding. Well, I was scared. And while watching the video, it felt like I was committing a sin. But as I listened, something inside me, started to stir. I watched more and more videos. I heard story after stories that sounded just like mine. And so a lot of it started to ring true to what I was going through. But at the time, I wasn't quite fully convinced. So, I decided to dig a little deeper. All these different videos I was watching, they started talking about the Australian Royal Commission. And so I watched. And I watched on that stage as the governing body member lied on stand. It was crazy, boy. Especially when the judge asked him that if he thought that the Jehovah's Witnesses, they were the only spokesman for God. And I thought he would stand, he would stand firm as they teach us to do. But nah, he buckled. He buckled. And he straight up lied, or basically told a lie in what they teach us on if Jehovah's Witnesses are the one true religion. He said, I can't believe what he said. He said it would be presumptuous for us to think that we're the only one, and yet they tell us all the time that they're the only one. But hey, I decided to dig more. I discovered jwfacts.com, and the amount of things that I read, the constant flip-flopping of doctrines, the false predictions, the hidden scandals. And then I finally read Crisis of Conscience by Raymond Friends, a former governing body member whom I never even heard of. and that was it. That was the final straw. I had spent my whole life believing this was God's one true organization, but now I couldn't deny the truth anymore. I couldn't. I just, in my heart, in my mind, I just knew that this wasn't the truth anymore. And so I remember the elders, they kept calling, checking in on me, because I hadn't been to the meetings for some weeks now. But I ignored them. I kept ignoring them. But to try to, get them off my back, I went to one last meeting. But halfway through the meeting, I just couldn't stand it anymore. I just couldn't stand listening to, some things that I just knew were lies. So I walked out. I walked out during the during the second song, the mid song, and I never came back. That was it. That was about a year and a half ago. I just never went back. My mom, she tried everything. She pleaded with me to come back. She called the elders, called my teacher, seeing if he could convince me. She urged me to talk to them, to return to Jehovah. But nope, I was done. I shut that down. I didn't write any, when I left, I didn't write a disassociation letter, none of that. I didn't make a dramatic exit. I just left the same way I came in. Quiet. I changed my number. I moved away, and for the first time in my life, I felt free. No more guilt, no more fear, no more exhausting myself to please an organization that never really cared. And so now, what I do now, I focus on my career, my goals and the life I want to build. I'm reclaiming all the time that I lost serving this organization, this organization that wasn't even true. I make sure that every single day that, if they look at my life, they have nothing negative to say. One thing that I know for sure that I don't want to be is I don't want to be an example for them to use, or what would happen to you if you leave this organization, a negative example. Because they sure will. So I decided, I'm not gonna get into some legal issues or none of that. I'm gonna live my life as I want, clean as possible, on the legal side. A happy, fulfilling life. One thing that I heard from XJW, critical thinker, they said that the best revenge, this thing you hear it all the time, and I heard specifically from their video, the best revenge, especially for this organization, is to live a successful life. And so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm free. Well, I appreciate you all for watching this video, watching my story, listening to it. Hopefully it helps somebody else that might be in the same position as me. All right. Peace.